All right, we're doing another episode of Hall Class. I just got to get this started really fast. So I got Larry and Joanne McCombs here today. And Joanne just said Larry had a lot of sweethearts before he met her, which is appropriate for Valentine's Day, sticking with his one sweetheart. So we're here a couple days before Valentine's. So Larry and Joanne, you want to say hi, introduce yourself for a second?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Joanne.
I'm Larry McComb.
Awesome. All right, so let's start with Larry. So Larry, where'd you grow up? What'd you do? Tell me about the family, too.
Okay, born in San Mateo, California, Bay Area. We moved to Sunnyvale. I grew up most of my life in Sunnyvale, California, which is South Bay. We were part of the Menlo Park Stake, and I loved growing up. Our family was a convert, but I was really young at the time. And the missionaries knocked at my mom's door during the day. And she said, you know, when I was a little girl, I grew up in Pleasant Grove, but we moved away. But I might be a member. Can you see if you could find my records? They came back, and 2 weeks later, that we found your records. We got them transferred here to Menlo Park Stake, and my mom started going to the LDS church while my dad and us kids were still going to the Lutheran church. And my dad had no interest in changing because he'd grown up in the Lutheran church. His dad was Lutheran, his grandpa was Lutheran, his great-grandpa goes all the way back to the mother country in Scotland. And he had no interest in changing.
Wow.
But here I am.
Wow.
He decided to accept the missionaries for one time. He said, I'll see them once. And they talked about the first vision. And that Joseph Smith, the 14-year-old boy, saw God the Father and his son Jesus Christ, and they were two separate personages. My dad said, wait a minute, what'd you just say? They said he saw two separate personages. You mean it's not the Trinity and it's one? No, they were two separate beings, God the Father and his son. My dad was converted on the first lesson because he always knew that to be true.
That's really cool. That's the first time you heard that preached, it sounds like.
Yeah, because he'd been told the Trinity, and he'd ask his pastor, why would Christ pray to himself in the Garden of Gethsemane? And there was no answer to that. All of his life, he never could accept the Trinity concept. And so he was converted on the first lesson. He's been solid ever since.
Interesting. Do you know what part of Scotland your family's from?
Yeah, Campbelltown, which is the southwest coast of Scotland.
Got it. And tell us a little bit about your family, like siblings, what your parents do for livings, etc.
My dad worked for the phone company.
Which one?
Pacific Telephone, which is now part of AT&T. And I have two sisters. I'm in the middle. I have an older sister and younger sister.
That's great.
Yeah.
What did you like to do growing up?
I grew up in Sunnyvale, and I loved it. We had so much fun. I was into sports. We played football. We played basketball. And then I got into cars because that was the 70s, and all of us boys were into cars. So by the time I graduated from high school, I had bought and sold 32 cars.
No way. All right, so why did you buy and sell in high school? Were you trying to make money?
No, he started. Tell him how old you were when you bought your first car.
My first car, I was 8.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I was really
how did you do that?
I saved up allowance money. I had $10, and there was this junk car out in the field by our house. And back then there was fields and there was orchards. Sunnyvale was not concrete jungle like it is now. And I went up to this guy next door that had a tire shop. I said, whose car is that? Junked out in the field. He says, that's mine. You want it? I said, yeah. How much you give me for it? I said, I have $10. He said, okay, deal. And we shook.
No way.
Yeah, and I come home and I said, Dad, I bought my first car. And he just had a fit. He's like, what are you doing, you knucklehead? And so anyway, he did help tow it home. And we put it in the backyard, jacked up the front wheels so I could steer it. And me and my friend Butchie probably put 100,000 miles on that car in the backyard.
Did you fix it up at all or not?
Yeah, I ended up fixing it up, but I was too young. My dad helped me, and he taught me about nuts and bolts and tools and cars and how an engine works, and it was a good bonding. I sold it for profit. Bought it for $10, sold it for $125, and I was sold after that. That was it. Okay, I'm gonna buy and sell cars.
All right. So, what was your favorite car at that time?
Oh, back in the days, 65 Mustang convertible. I bought
Nice.
several of those. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And was cars your thing in high school? Did you do any sports or anything else?
Sports, yeah. Played football in high school. But only a couple of years because I got really into the car thing. I started working at a body shop and learned how to paint and Bondo and fix them up. I would buy totaled cars from the insurance company and I'd fix them up and sell them for some really good profits. That's probably making more money than anybody else in my high school.
Wow. That's entrepreneurial right there. All right.
He's his nickname is Deals McComb.
Deals McComb?
Because he'll do a deal on anything. Like,
That's a good Scottish trait.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good Scottish.
All right, Joanne, so how about you? Where'd you grow up? And tell us about your family.
Okay, well, my mom is German. She grew up in Germany. So she met my dad. He was in the military, and he was from Puerto Rico, and they got married in Germany, and which is a very different story. And they came to the United States. They started in Maryland, then Michigan, and then ended up in Southern California, where I was born, and my sister. And then we moved to Palm Springs. My parents got divorced. My mom stayed in Palm Springs, and my dad came here, and he ended up in Encinitas, and he ended up joining the church here. And that changed the whole trajectory of our lives. So I went to elementary school in Rancho Mirage, but when I came here, I did junior high and high school, Oak Crest Junior High and San Diego High School way back in the day, and saw the Cardiff. So I was a convert to the church, saw the Cardiff building, started out in that cute little white Solana Beach chapel, and we built the new Cardiff building, which isn't so new anymore. And
You helped build it.
well, okay.
You did the construction
we get
cleanup.
to do construction cleanup or help with the landscape, development stuff, like rolling out the sod and all that fun stuff. So anyway, but totally changed our lives. I mean, I can't even imagine what my life would be if my parents actually, their divorce was sad, but it was actually a blessing for my sister and I, because my sister ended up joining the church and going on a mission, and it, I don't know where my family would be today without the wonderful members that were in this area, my bishop and all the, my young women leaders. In fact, Sister Schindler was my seminary teacher. She's still here, and just wonderful people. The Dyers. Sister Dyer is my young women's leader. So anyway, great examples for me. It was, I have very tender feelings for the wonderful people that were here at that time. So
that's really interesting. How about your dad? How did he come to take the lessons from the missionaries?
So his uncle had joined the church in Arizona, and he sent him a Book of Mormon when he got divorced. So he's like, why don't you go find the church? Because he knew my dad would be alone and sad. And then my sister and I came to be with him for the summer, because it's really hot in Palm Springs. And my mom was going on a trip, so we came for just a few months in the summer to be with our dad. But we came here and we realized, this is kind of
we don't want to go back.
We don't want to go back to Palm Springs, and actually it was just like a good time. My mom was fine with it.
That was between 5th and 6th grade, right?
It was actually the end of 6th grade, the summer between 6th and 7th. So I started junior high here, and didn't look back. Yeah, it was great. And then after I graduated, I ended up back in Palm Springs. I was with my mom, and that's where we met.
All right.
So,
now, what did you do in high school before we go to meeting?
What did I do? Okay, well, I ran track, and I mostly had a horse. And my best friend lived next door, and we'd go horseback riding. So we were right one block above the Cardiff building. So the Lake Drive, we were on Crest Drive, which is one street up. And the backyard of our house went down to El Camino Real. And back in those days, we would just take our horses down to El Camino Real, and we could either go Manchester, and we could go to the beach. I was just telling Larry, we used to ride on the beach, which you couldn't do anymore now. Or we would ride out to Rancho Santa Fe, ride around the golf course, and
back then El Camino was a two-way road.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty quiet. It was pretty quiet.
Flower fields.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of the stuff on El Camino, if you kept going, like south of Encinitas Boulevard or north of Encinitas Boulevard, was all like strawberry fields.
Right.
That's where we got strawberries. There's old barns out there and stuff like that. But yeah, so I did that. I was on speech team for a few years, and what else did I do in high school? I worked for an insurance company, actually, after school. Tiger Financial, right down on Santa Fe Drive. I forget what street that is. If you take Santa Fe under the freeway, I don't think they're there anymore. It was a little house that was converted into an insurance office, and we would sell Mexican auto insurance policies for people who wanted to go down to Mexico for the day and they wanted auto insurance. So I was always doing those kind of things. So anyway, just kind
That's
of
really cool. So both of you were working in high school. That's great.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's important for kids to work.
Yeah.
You learn a lot from your job.
It's true. What did you do after high school, Larry? Did you head straight to college, or what did you do?
I went to BYU my freshman year.
Okay.
And had a fantastic time. So fun. Freshman year at BYU, you're a kid out on your own for the first time, but you're surrounded by a bunch of other LDS kids who are also from all over the country and form a lot of great friendships. And then got my mission call to Korea.
Wow. What did you
My
think about that?
I loved it. I went into the MTC, we were one of the first groups to go when the MTC opened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now I think they built a new one, right?
But it did.
That was before my generation or my era was called the LTM.
Right.
But I was at MTC, so it was great. I love my mission. There's so many great memories. I even, every night, part of my personal prayers, thank you for sending me to Korea. I loved it.
Do you still speak any Korean?
Yeah, I still keep it in use because
he
I have.
actually speaks amazing Korean because
don't.
anytime we meet Korean people and he starts talking, they will say, "Did you grow up there? How do you speak Korean so well?" He has such a good memory.
That's great.
I have, I've developed commercial buildings, and some of my tenants are Korean, so we do all of our business in Korean.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I still.
It's a good way to say practice. Do you have a favorite memory from your mission or time while you were in Korea?
Yeah, I have lots of them, but one that really stands out is we were teaching this brother Kim, and it was out in the far stretches of Korea, and we call the Shigul, which is the country, out in the sticks, and he was just perfect. He was prime, and he was progressing so well, and he was reading the Book of Mormon every day. And one day we were giving him like the fourth or fifth discussion, getting close to baptism, and he said, "Elder McComb, I hate to tell you this, but I've been transferred. My job has been transferring me to Seoul, which is hours away. Okay, a city of 26 million people." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. When you get there, will you please call the missionaries and set up a time to meet with them?" And he said, "Yeah, I will. And I was hoping he would, because I could just see him as a bishop or stake president. And so fast forward a couple months, 3-4 months later, maybe even 5 months. I have to look in my journal. I should do that. But I get transferred to Seoul. And this is like being transferred from San Francisco to LA, okay? I get off the bus in Seoul with my suitcase. I step off the bus. Right in front of me is Brother Kim.
Oh, wow.
I said, "Brother Kim, what are you doing?" He said, "Elder McComb." He still remembered my name. We hugged, and I said, "Did you go see the missionaries?" He says, "I've been so busy. I'm so sorry I didn't. Can we finish teaching you the discussions?" "Yes, let's do it." And so we taught him the rest of the lessons and baptized him.
That's cool.
And what are the chances? A city of 26 million people, you get off the bus, he's the first guy I saw.
Totally random. One of my favorite quotes, and I did verify, it's attributed to Einstein, who was famously atheist, but he said, "Coincidence is God's way of being anonymous." And that story kind of reminds me about that.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, it was way too much coincidence to me to be a coincidence. And I realized maybe the Lord needed him in the kingdom and has special things that he needed him to do. And he wasn't going to do it on his own. He forgot to call the missionaries, and he was going to kind of taper off. Maybe he would have forgotten all about it. But so the Lord sent me there, and boom,
Wow.
we got him.
That's really cool.
The church, yeah. So it was awesome.
How about you, Joanne, after high school? What'd you do?
I started at junior college in Palm Springs, and then we met pretty quick, like within a year
She was
after
a
that.
freshman, yeah.
And I was working,
You guys met in Palm Springs?
That's where we met. Larry has quite the story. He was transferred to Palm Springs, which is very rare,
Oh,
you know.
so what were you doing that got you out to Palm Springs, Larry?
Okay, so I'm graduating from BYU, and I was interviewing on campus. Back then, you interview on campus.
Right.
And one of the companies I interviewed was this commercial real estate development firm out of the Bay Area. And I'm like, ooh, perfect. I can move back home. I'm still single, don't have to pay rent. It was perfect because it was only like 20 minutes from my parents' house. So I interviewed and I got the job. And I was so excited. And 3 or 4 months into the job, my boss took me into his office and he said, Larry, I need to transfer you to Palm Springs. I'm like, oh, Dean, his name was Dean. I don't want to go to Palm Springs. There's nobody under 70 years old there. I'm single. I'm never going to get married. And he says, I got to have you there. And he says, we have a brand new 3-building office complex. It's 100% vacant. It's got to get leased, and you're the man. I said, oh, man, I don't really want to go, but I'll make a deal with you. If I lease the building up, you'll bring me back to the Bay Area. He said, you got it. That's a deal. And so I went down, and I moved in on Thursday. It was 120 degrees. There's days of 120 in Palm Springs. And I'm like, who lives here? This is crazy. I'm from Sunnyvale. It's like just about the same as Encinitas weather. And I was really shocked at how hot it was. That you burn your hand on the steering wheel when you touch it. So anyway, moved in on Thursday, and I go to, back then it was called Young Adults, not YSA, but same thing. YSA, go to YSA, the class on Sunday, and they said, hey, tonight we're all going to meet here at the chapel, Palm Springs Chapel, and we're going to carpool over to Riverside. There's a general authority that's going to speak. It's a regional youth fireside. Great. So I go there and wait for, this is in the evening now, about 6 o'clock, and we're carpooling, and I look over and I saw Joanne, and I fell in love. Now, I dated a lot of girls at BYU and all through high school, but nobody struck me like Joanne. And I went over, I had to meet this girl, and she said her name was Joanne, and I was hook, line, and sinker right there.
Did you carpool with her that night?
Yes, she was actually with another guy that she'd been dating, but I made sure I got into the back seat with the two of them. So she sat in the middle, and I sat on this side, and he sat on that side. And I talked to her the whole way to Riverside and back.
All right, Joanne, pick up the story from there.
Oh, I don't think the guy, he was not very happy. Anyway, we started dating really quick, and then Larry does not do anything slow. So when we finally got engaged to get married, it was like, well, we'll probably get married in April or May, but I don't know how. The date got moved up to December. We were married within a
4
few
months.
months. It was
4
very
months.
quick. Yeah, from the time we met in like August.
4 months from meeting to married.
Yeah,
Yep.
we got married in the LA
Met
temple.
in August, married in December.
And by April, we were moving back up to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Because you leased the building.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
got it
not
halfway
quite.
leased, and then they brought me back up to the Bay Area for something else they needed me to do. But, I never look back. I mean, it's the best thing I ever did. So whether we dated for 4 months or 4 years, it doesn't matter. When it's right, it's right. And I have one of my best friends from high school dated, his name was Mike, and his wife is Kathy. They dated all through high school, all through college, get married after they graduated from college. So 8 years of dating, and they were divorced in 2 years. So the amount of time doesn't really matter.
What did you think, Joanne? So Larry does things fast. So what did you think at the time? Were you thinking this is crazy, or were you on board with it the whole time?
Actually, I think we were both very energetic and young, and it all a month seems like a year when you're that age.
It's true.
So it was meant to be. I totally feel like the Lord directed everything in our lives.
you
There's
get
so
it
many
sent down
things
there.
when you look back over the last 42 years, I feel like we aren't in control because so many things we've done have been directed by the Lord.
Well, even Dean, who sent me down there, he was my boss. fast forward 20 years, he ended up becoming first counselor in the presiding bishopric.
Oh, wow.
Nobody would have ever seen that because he was not any, I mean, he was just another member like the rest of us, but he ended up being a general authority. And every time I would see him, I saw him once at the airport. Dean, how you doing? He says, good, good. He said, I say, Dean, I owe my whole family to you. A wife, 6 kids. I said, I owe it all to you. Because
It was definitely an inspired move. It was meant to be.
Because he sent me down against my will. I did not want to go, but it was the right thing.
That's really interesting. That's interesting how the Lord works and all the things that flow from it. Well, I heard Larry say 6 kids. Why don't you tell us about the family, Joanne?
Okay, well, we have 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. Our oldest is 37, right? The next is 33. Is Kayla 34? She's 34. And then our 4 youngest are 26. We had quadruplets, so that's quite a thing. That was a whole different thing. And that was, I know the Lord had plans for that because we'd been trying to have a third. And at the time, our oldest was 11, and then Kayla, our second oldest, was 8. And we got pregnant with quads. And so,
what was it like raising quads? I've heard of doubles, even triplets. Quads, did that just take it to another level beyond triplets?
You know what? I think, okay, I always say this. Like if somebody has 6 kids, I always say, oh, they did it the hard way. Because I was really efficient. Like those first few years are really hard, but you're very routined. And if you can get through that, then it's just like a family of 6. So it's just those first few years where, yeah, it's a little more, but they're all on the same schedule. So when you have a baby and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, that's a lot harder than 4 1-year-olds because they're all going to nap at the same time. And the Lord knows my temperament, so it actually works fine for me.
She's super organized. Everything is on a schedule to the minute. So if it was feeding time, they would all, even if they're sound asleep, nope, they're waking up and they're going to get fed. And they thrived on that schedule.
Yeah, we team tagged it. So we had it all set up when they were really, really little, and we brought them home from the hospital. We had 3 on oxygen. So we were like a NICU in our bedroom. It was kind of crazy. We had all these oxygen cords and 3 tanks but I would go to bed first because I can fall asleep at like 8 o'clock at night. So we would feed at 9 or something, and then I would go to sleep, and then Larry would stay up and do the midnight feeding. But I would sleep until 3 a.m., but I would have slept from like 9 to 3. So, so I felt like I had like a chunk of sleep.
Right.
And I would do the next feeding. And we had it very regimented that we both knew how to just get in and change a diaper and get a baby set, and, we only did that for about 2 months.
It was very efficient.
And then they started sleeping through the night, and then that kind of made it. Then our daytimes were very regimented. But anyway, I mean, they turned out. We didn't totally destroy them. We actually have great kids. We always say, I don't know how we are so blessed. We were just very blessed.
Out of 6
Everybody's
kids,
healthy. 5
of them have served missions. 1 didn't because
she got married.
She got married. She would have if it was 19 for her, but it was 21 at the time. By then she got married. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And they haven't suffered any like brain damage because the 4 younger ones went on really hard missions. 2 went to Japan, and 1 went to Russia, and the other went to Croatia and had to learn Croatian and Montenegrin and Serbian. So, I mean, they had to learn some tough languages, so they don't have any.
Luke is one of them. He's a UCSD student, and he's 4.0. He's probably going to be graduating this year. He may even make valedictorian. He's the top in his
So
class.
they didn't, even with the
oxygen
and all that.
They still did okay.
They did okay.
Yeah.
They made it through.
They got some of you guys discipline and personality and persevere. That's pretty amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys grow up, you raised the family up in San Francisco area? Sunnyvale or where?
We moved to Pleasanton after Palm Springs because the company was based up there that I was working for. So we ended up living probably 25 years between Pleasanton and Danville.
Yeah, we were in both the Pleasanton stake, the Danville stake, and we did live in Utah for probably 7
years.
7 years.
And so we know a lot of people down here are from our stakes in Pleasanton and and Danville. Like the Bolingbroks were in our stake in
That's
Danville.
right.
The Sister Hartman is from Alamo First Ward.
The Crockett's, Carrie Crockett's family were in our stake. The Madsons.
The Madsons and the Crockett's bishop, Heber's uncle was our bishop.
Wow.
Jay Crockett was our bishop.
Yeah, great bishop.
Oh, loved him.
So what got you guys down here?
Larry wanted some sunshine. So we
Sunshine.
the last we did junior high and high school for our 4 youngest quads in Utah. And so when they ended up leaving on their mission, Larry's like, okay, we're done raising kids, so we'll just go where there's some sunshine. So we came down here.
Yeah.
That's
And Larry
great.
loves to garden.
I'm a gardener.
And he
so
loves
I'm
to be
out
outside. So
12 months of the year gardening here. It just goes all year, never stops.
Do you do everything, or is there like something you really like to focus on?
Just everything. I'm like a propagator. Plant propagation. I take snips of things and I regenerate things and grow trees and plants and vegetables and fruits and whatever. I just love being outside, digging
That's awesome.
dirt. I have a tractor. Get out of my tractor and I do composting and I'm into all that stuff.
That's awesome. How about you, Joanne? What do you like to do?
what do I like to do?
Read.
I love to read. Yeah, I do like to read. And we love to go. We are outdoors. We walk, hike.
We do 3 miles every
bike.
day.
Yeah.
Where do you walk? Do the Rancho trails?
Yeah, we live in
Or-
Rancho Santa Fe, so we're all around the up and down hills, and it's good exercise. We also bike ride a lot, so we like to.
That's
exercise.
dangerous in Rancho.
Well, we don't do that
We
there.
have a
we
good
usually
area that-
trailer our
bike.
bike
We
to
don't
a,
bike in
yeah,
Rancho, no.
we try to go find like
We have
different
take
safe
out,
paths.
All right, so if you enjoy reading, what favorite book that's not scripture?
Oh, favorite book that's not, God, there's so many of them. I usually don't read something twice.
Not for sure nonfiction. She's not a fiction reader.
Yeah. Well, I do read fiction for book club, so I'll do that. Because it's always interesting to see what kind of people, what people are reading. But
If not a favorite, what's something you've read recently that you enjoyed?
well, I love things like Atomic Habits,
Atomic.
that kind of genre of like, type of stuff. I read just everything that comes along. So, anyway.
What's a day in the life like for you guys now?
Well, we spend a lot of time between here and in Utah, or we have a daughter that's in Montana, we have a son in Idaho, and then three of our kids are in Utah, and then Luke is here. So
We're spread out all.
Yeah.
So
So
you travel a lot.
we
travel.
are gone a lot. We
Yeah,
have,
travel a lot.
I would say,
So if you don't see us here, it's not because we're not going to church. It's because we are.
You just go to church somewhere else.
Or some other state.
We actually
yeah.
do. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
there. So that's what our life is like right now.
But a regular day in our life, wake up, definitely get that 3 mile walk in every day. That's kind of a key thing to start the day. And then I get on my tractor, start moving dirt, start planting and things like that. But I also am running my business.
Yeah,
So
Larry's still really busy doing his business.
I
We just
have-
kind of put
yeah.
everything onto an app, so we're trying to figure out how to work this new app that we're doing.
yeah, so
we have
I've developed properties, so we've got them in the Bay Area, and then in several other areas too. Utah is a big area where I've developed properties, so I have a lot of stuff going on in leasing and renewals and
he's developing a project in Cedar City. So
yeah.
in between playing around, there's a lot of work to be done too.
Yeah.
So but we try to do it in the background. Like okay, we need to just hunker down and take 2 hours to focus on this. So
Do you get involved in the business too?
I've just been
Lately,
doing
yes.
this new app thing
We
because
started an
it's
app.
actually been very helpful. We were doing business one way, and we've discovered that it's a little simpler to do it this way. So
So I put her in charge of running the app, and she's doing a fantastic
What does the
job.
app do?
It is the new way our tenants have to pay now. We have about 150 tenants, and they have to log into the app to pay their rent. Before they would send a check in
Mail a
or
check.
whatever. Yeah, no more checks. I don't accept checks. It has to go through the app. And by doing that, it makes life so much easier because the app will send them notices. Your rent is due, whatever, and then they can click auto pay. So it's made it so much easier that you can just say, who hasn't paid? Boom, it gives you a report instantly instead of having to look through all these checks and stuff. So I put her in charge of the app, and she's doing a fantastic job.
It's awesome.
There we go. So yeah, we have our little.
So I still pay all the bills, which those seem to find me. I don't have to look for those. Those find me. So I still take care of that part. But eventually I'll work that over.
Larry's been developing a project in Cedar City too. So he's we've been going back and forth.
Working with architects and engineers and all that.
Wow.
So he loves it. It's his thing. It's like fixing up a car, only it's a building. So it's
started early and still going.
Still going.
Deals McComb.
Deals McComb.
All right, so let's see. I always like to hear a favorite restaurant. You guys got a favorite restaurant?
Home.
Yeah, our kitchen. So that's like maybe one of my things. I really love to cook. So I do.
She's a fantastic cook. So I grow the food. She makes the food.
Farm to table.
At our house.
Table.
That's her.
We have a thing on our thing, farm to table, on our wall. And I grow everything. Sweet potatoes,
right now
potatoes, onions,
broccoli, cauliflower.
Yeah.
You want anything like that, come to
Cabbage,
the house. Green onions.
Onions, we have all of it. And she has all kinds of
Finds
amazing
the way
recipes.
to make it.
Luckily, he's easy to please, so it's not like.
So do you guys have a favorite type of food? Like, do you make are you like a specialty, or you'll just make anything, whatever's in season, you make it work?
Well, he loves soup, so right now I've been making broccoli soup, cauliflower soup.
During winter.
Yeah.
And then all summer it's salads, all kinds of different salads. Lettuce, tomatoes, onions, carrots, whatever.
Sounds delicious. So on top of all that, do you got a favorite dessert?
I don't eat.
Yeah, you do.
Banana cream pie.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a one that is really naughty that I shouldn't eat. So.
Yeah, but it's fantastic.
One guilty pleasure, banana cream pie.
I hardly make it because I try not to eat sugar.
Only when the kids are here, so she does no sugar.
I pretty much try to get sugar out of the house.
Yeah,
so
no sugar.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's see. Do you guys have a television show or streaming show you like to watch? Or are you too busy to have time for that?
No, when the sun goes down, there's not much gardening you can do, right?
We just watched The Crown.
The Crown.
We've never seen that. And
Netflix.
Our daughter, Kayla, said, you've got to watch it. So we started from the beginning. And it was really interesting because of the historical aspects of things that happened that they integrate into the movie. We thought that was really well done. So, yeah.
That was fantastic.
We really
We watched we were glued to every episode. And Seinfeld.
Oh, I love Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's awesome. And Friends, we went through every single Friends episode
that was a
literally
while
3 or
ago.
4 times.
Redoing all those.
I think we know every line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Those are
we
good.
also did Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever watched those? Those are way, like, they were reruns when we were kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't have an appetite for them anymore.
We just love those. I just think they're so funny. Yeah.
Seinfeld's better. Seinfeld's awesome.
Yeah. So you put so you got Friends, Office, Seinfeld. Seinfeld comes out on top for you?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
Friends is
it's
number one as far as...
I mean, we're not big on it. But.
Friends is number one for comedy, but that Crown was really good for drama.
All right.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
I've started it. Don't quote me on this. It was very dry, and I haven't been able to get the motivation to finish it yet.
You gotta get through the first 2 or 3, and then you start getting into it.
Okay.
It's very dramatic.
I'll give it another shot.
Almost overly dramatic.
On your recommendation.
Okay.
It is dramatic, but I think it's the historical parts that are so interesting. So we would stop it, and then we would actually look up the historical thing that happened, and that was kind of interesting.
Learn about it, yeah.
You know what's interesting? On Amazon, if you watch something on Amazon, if you hit pause, it'll link to the book, and you can go to the book and buy the book, for example, related to the show or something like that. If it's based on that, it'd be interesting if, like, Crown, for example, if, like, as you're watching it, hyperlinks to Google or YouTube for further information or something like that.
Well, we would Google it and it would come right up, and everything that they did on there was spot on.
That's
for
awesome.
Historical. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, so let me hear some final thoughts here. So, tell me about who Jesus is to you or your faith in Jesus Christ. Let's do Larry first. I want to hear Joanne at the end.
Jesus Christ is my Savior and Redeemer, and I put all of my faith in Him because without Him, I'm lost. I'm literally a lost soul. That's how I feel. There are times when I think stupid decisions I've made in my life, and I look back and think I am lower than the dust of the earth, literally. And my only hope is Jesus Christ.
Thank you for sharing that. That's sweet.
Well, I am so grateful for my Savior. The direction, I can't even imagine. People think that they can do things on their own, and you can't. The things that we've been through in life, and like I said, as we look back on everything that's happened, I know that all the goodness that has come into our life is because He's by my side. And through those dark things that you have to go through, like when I was pregnant with quads, and when you get to some of those situations, it's just you and your Savior. It's nobody else can help you. Nobody can come into your body when you're growing 4 babies. That's when you realize it's just me and the Savior. And He got us through quite a bit of things, some really difficult things in our life, and I know He's there for me. It's such a comforting blessing. So
I can't even imagine life without the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I feel
I
sorry.
can't even imagine. Yeah. Where would we be?
I don't know. And I feel sorry for people who have to do life without the knowledge of a Savior. With all by themselves, alone in this world, must feel very cold and very, very alone. So we are so blessed. And like I said, I'm so blessed to have the gospel in my life and to have so many people who volunteered so much of their time to be young women leaders and bishops and to lead me and be an example for me. And so I always have thought about that, especially as we served in our callings. We did all the stuff for our kids when they were growing up. Larry's been Young Men's president, and I was in Young Women's, and we went on Trek. And I think every time I go and help the youth, I think this is how they're learning. And so we have a huge responsibility to share our knowledge and our testimony with the younger generation. It's huge.
That's one thing I feel like the church doesn't have anymore. Is back then we had road shows, and we had dance festival, and we had all these fun activities that brought the youth together, and stake dances. We had like every week between Menlo Park Stake and Saratoga Stake and San Mateo Stake. We could go to one almost every week. And those are such bonding times that brought us closer to the gospel because we were associating with other kids. And I feel like we don't have a lot of that stuff anymore for youth.
True. They got different things, though. But, times are different. But it's fascinating to learn about both of you. I appreciate you spending some time. It went really quickly, but I love learning about both of you. And what a beautiful life you guys have together. So thank you for spending some time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.